Okay, in Russia, the Romanovs took power in 1613, just after the fall of Ivan the Terrible, or the death of Ivan the Terrible. Um, it was led to prominence under Peter the Great and later continued with Catherine the Great. When we talk about the decline of these empires, for the Romanovs, it was a bloody end just before the end of World War One, which hopefully you guys don't even have to worry about because now you only have sections or units 1 through 6 to deal with. The Ottomans used a military system to govern the people. Devshirme, I believe is how you say it, Devshirme, as all boys that were of Christian descent were forced into military labor. They also promoted this idea of a janissary, which a janissary is essentially an elite military force. But it did give these Christians the opportunity for upward advancement within the Ottoman regime, but they were really still considered nothing more than slaves. Okay. Another country we can look at for systems of control would be Japan and their daimyo system, or they had basically aristocrats that had their own armies and they had their own section of land, and they kind of ruled their people as they chose, which led to this corruption within this country of Japan, as these daimyos would really just hold the people. So they had the Tokugawa shogunate come in and take power, and what they did was they held the daimyo in check by putting limitations on their power, forcing them to have seats at the table and discuss whether or not what they were doing was right. And a lot of times the way that they did this is they held their families ransom. So if the daimyo went to their house instead of being in Tokyo under the shogunate rule, they would have their family in Tokyo and hold them for ransom until they came back to make sure that their powers were in check. This is considered the period of great peace in Japan. It was nearly 300 years of peace under this rule. This is where you have your Bushido taking place. A lot of the samurai codes that were in place were during this time period, and you should understand that stuff. 3.3. So this is where we're at. We're at 3.3 belief systems. 3.3, I didn't really lay out a lot, so I'm going to shoot from the hip on this one. And it says, explain continuity and change within various belief systems during the period from 1450 to 1750. What I would definitely talk about, I would talk about the patriarchal system, and the fact that it was continued through the practice of, in China, things like foot binding continued. They also still modeled the Confucianist ideal that the home should look like the government, with the man at the top and all others there to serve the man. If we looked at Japan, you should definitely be mentioning the Bushido code and kind of the warrior's way of life as another continuity or continuance of that. If you wanted to look into England and the move from the Catholic Church to the Anglican Church and come up with some ideas on whether or not that is continuity or change, that would be pretty great. I would also consider looking at Europe from a Catholicism standpoint and the spread of Catholicism. If you're going to talk about land-based empires, you should also mention kind of the Aztec and Incan empires and the change that took place with them, and the introduction of the Catholic Church by the Spanish during this time period. Remember that although there are a lot of changes that took place within the Aztec and Incan religions, there were in fact some continuities that laid claim to as well. Things like Dia de los Muertos is a day that was a Native American holiday that kind of was incorporated into the Catholic religion within Mexico. Stuff like that. You should have some of that stuff in your proverbial tool belt when it comes to building this essay, when it comes to that LEQ. Okay. Trying to think. I think that should pretty much cover it. Oh, belief systems. You should also mention when it comes to the Ottoman Empire after Mehmed II. And once we move further along, they really had to appease a certain section of the population and move closer to the Quran and the Islamic faith and push away technological advances, which later caused them to decline as a result of that. The decline really took place because the Ottoman rulers saw themselves as on par with these European empires. However, they did not continue to put resources into technological advances as did the Europeans, especially when it came to industrialism. They still relied heavily on the home market, kind of your tradesmen making those rugs that are shipped over to England and Europe, and still kind of focused on those kind of ideals, where the Europeans were focusing on industrialism and in fact military industrialism and the growth of these huge large armies. Although the Ottoman Empire did have a vast army, they did not have the technological advances as such as like the Germans or the English or the French or even the United States as well. And so once the World War I broke out, they weren't able to hold serve and they saw a decline to their country. So you should definitely talk about the belief systems there. Okay. So the last one isn't really something that I can give you a lot with because it's asking you to, it's 3.4 is comparison in land-based empires. Compare the methods by which various empires increased their influence from 1450 to 1750. I would definitely be talking about the Spanish with their hacienda system and how they would set up a don who would basically rule over a region and control the Native American population within that. This is a perfect example to talk about Hernan Cortez and Doña Marina and how she helped to really bring Mexico to the Spanish and negotiated a lot with Native Americans. I would also talk about the English and their colonies in the Americas. That's like itch. I got an itch. All right. Sorry. I would talk about that. I would definitely I would definitely compare the Ottoman Empire to the Europeans. Remember, in my class, we talked about Mehmed II quite a bit, actually, even before the rise of the Ottoman with the Empire came out on Netflix. Yeah, I did that. But remember, Mehmed hired the Florentinian. Anyway, the dude from Florence, the artist from Florence, to come in and paint his self-portrait as a means to kind of flex on the rest of Europe and be like, yes, I got this, right? So remember that. I would use lots of those type of examples, and you should have it listed all in bullet point fashion. Don't forget to use your College Board website as a resource. My students, we use a couple different books. This one is the AMSCO book. This one is pretty nuts and bolts, but it follows the AP guidelines perfectly. It goes literally units 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how they kind of set it up. That's why we use this as our study material. And then our base book, which is a little bit denser, is the Strayer book, Ways of the World. I really like that one as well. But I also have the units, have the students check out John Green's videos. I think they're great. If you guys want to hop in and do any kind of specific videos on that, I would highly suggest that. Yeah, so that's unit 3. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to do a couple other things because I've had a few people kind of ask me what do I look like in high school and stuff, and I've had a really hard time finding any pictures. I think mostly because I was trying to avoid the cameras at all cost during that time period. So I have a couple pictures I think that are pretty funny. and interesting. Let me see if I can find them. These are pictures of my daughter. Okay, so I don't know what year this one is. I'm gonna guess I was 15. It's pretty funny. My sister is probably gonna be pretty heated because her hair is a mess in this, but that's okay. So, you know what? It's better to beg for forgiveness. Anyway, you know the saying. So, here's this picture. It's a little glary. Okay, so look at that head of hair. Marvelous. I had braces, so I had to have been 15 when that picture was taken. Let me answer a text real quick. Okay, so that was my girlfriend Andrea. She asked how my day was going, and I said really good. I'm actually filming a YouTube video right now as you texted me, so that was kind of funny. Let me see if I can't make that glare go. Watch, now you're not gonna be able to see the picture. Let me see if I can get it closer now. Yes, look at that. That is amazing. Maybe if I turn it, no. I don't know. I'll figure out a way to get that better. So, that was a picture. I was probably 15 when that picture was taken. I think this is pretty funny because I think of a couple students in my class, and it's essentially the same hairstyle that these guys have now. So the dude on the left is my brother. I am obviously this handsome individual who is very, very overweight in this picture right here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that. But tell me that hairstyle isn't the same hairstyle that you guys have now. The little perm look with the shaved sides. Would you guys please quit biting our style from the 90s? That's all I'm saying. Okay, so that was that picture. So, I mean, I don't know what the heck I was doing from the time I was like 16 to about, because I was 18 in that last picture. If it was 98, I was probably 18. And so apparently I definitely was carb loading, trying to get a little bit bigger. Carb loading was extremely successful as we look 2 years later. The definite guttage in that picture is real, but peep the stash, bro. That stash is real with the Raiders hat. That's legit. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you had a little bit of fun at the end. I did. You know, finding old pictures and stuff was interesting. Hopefully you guys are optimistic about the way that this is going. I hope that you guys are all staying safe. Make sure you take this real, take this serious. Let's beat this thing. Let's get through it. I can't wait to be back in the classroom with my students. It's literally one of my favorite places to be in the world. And I'm so blessed to be a teacher. And I thank you guys so much for all the inspiration and stuff that you guys give me every day as I continue to get text messages through the freaking computer. But absolutely, you guys are the reason I do anything. So I'm so excited. I'm really excited for you guys this opportunity. I think having the test shortened, having it be taken at home, I think these are all good things. I think that you guys will have time to focus. Make sure you're really spending some time on what we're doing, okay? And I know that I went through the video pretty quick. Remember that this is just an abbreviation of what you should be studying. All right, I'm super excited. Can't wait to do the next one. That was Unit 3. Okay, we're going to look at Unit 4. I'm going to start prepping for that. And I promise you I will get it done. Thank you. You guys are amazing. I appreciate you even looking at this stuff while the world is on its axis spinning. But believe me, we are all going to make it, and we're all going to do great things. And I have nothing but faith in you guys and God. So everything's good.